Do I
I
have
press the button. Recording is about to start. Huh?
when it starts? I will.
Please write down. Write a status on the our groups so the everybody can know that the meeting is about to start. So that anybody who want to join, he can be able to join. He or she can be able to join.
You can start the recording when it starts. Not right now.
Can you check if people are have sent requests to join the meeting?
Um. Shoukat, am I allowed to admit the members? Are you giving me this permission?
I think anyone can accept now. Yeah, when people start joining.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session. We will start when at least there are 20 members who will attend the session.
I can still suggest, like, if there are no more people, and maybe we can have a more consultative kind of discussion kind of session. We can hear from different people about their experiences as well. I mean, I'm open to how you want to me to present and share. Yeah, thank you.
Until people can join, and let's start introduction session with all participants who have joined right now. So people can join while this session is being started. So later they can join and we can start.
I am Shoukat Ali. I'm working with Risk Consulting Pakistan as the meal coordinator, as the provincial coordinator in province, Pakistan.
My name is Heba. I work as a M&D officer, the head of the meal unit in an organization called Man Center in Gaza, Palestine.
Asif Ali is here. I'm working with Save the Children as a provincial meal coordinator, Sindh.
Here is Abid Ali Mari. I am a Deputy Director Monitoring and Evaluation in Sindh Healthcare Commission, Pakistan.
Hello everyone, I'm Sanya Zara, working with Japigo as Advocacy Manager. Thank you.
Welcome, Sanya, and other group members. Welcome to this session. Anyone would like to introduce himself? Okay, let's start. I would like to thank Mr. Sabir for his initiative to hold this session on monitoring on outcome monitoring, and thanks to Shoukat, Mr. Shoukat, for his initiative to organize the session. I would like to introduce Mr. Sabir. Mr. Sabir Hussein Jarwar is the head of meal unit. He works with people in need in Iraq and Syria. Welcome, Mr. Sabir. We will hold the session for 1 hour and in outcome monitoring, and Mr. Sabir will present a few slides, and at the end of the session we will have few minutes for anyone who would like to ask questions, and Mr. Sabir will answer. So welcome everyone. Mr. Sabir, you can start the session.
Thank you so much, Heba. Thank you so much, Shoukat, for arranging this session. I really appreciate because when I recall my career start in monitoring and evaluation, it was very rare to find different spaces and the community of practice and people who arrange and guide and discuss about different aspects of monitoring and evaluation. But nowadays we have lots of resources we can find on internet, but also there are people who are ready to support, share their experiences. So this is really wonderful as I see. First, a couple of disclaimers, and then we'll get into the session. Number one, please don't consider what I'm going to present is something that should be, followed in any way. It's, there are just practical examples. I would just say how I did outcome monitoring for different projects, and they are defined by different conditions as we agree in the project design. And also sometimes they are driven by donor. So they propose different methodologies, different tools, and all these things. So it's more about how different kind of approaches and ways we can use to monitor different results and mainly outcomes, because normally it's very easy to monitor outputs, but when it comes to outcome that needs a more little experience, but also some techniques to do outcome monitoring. And another disclaimer is I would definitely like people who can share their experiences. So it's not about right and wrong. It should be very open, like how we did in past and how we want to do in some future, and if we can contribute helping them sharing some of the experiences or ideas. Okay, I would like people to, maybe I start with sharing slides and then I will get to it. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can people see my screen?
It's visible.
Okay. So as I said, it's just an experience sharing and learning session. It's not kind of, I mean, how we all are at least mid and senior level professionals. So it's not about teaching. It's about let's share our experiences on outcome monitoring. As you know, like this outcome, they are part of this 4x4 matrix, which is called the logical framework analysis, like people say theory of change. So they are defined in the project design. That means this is how we are going to achieve, this is how we are going to spend our resources, and these are our long-term results we want to achieve in the specific period of a project. And they are designed in the project. That means they are agreed with the donors, and we also agree with that as an implementing partner. So we need to stick with this 4x4 matrix. And this is here we define outcome statements and also outcome indicators. And today we are going to mainly discuss on how to monitor outcomes, rather than like I can share my experience and some of like how currently we are doing in our projects here. And then it will be in a very open discussion. People can share their experience, or if they have any question where they want more clarity, we can discuss that as well. So it's again part of the result chain, as you can see. So outcomes mainly focus on your immediate results. They are coming when people use their outputs, so whatever they are. We provide services, we provide trainings, we provide learning and knowledge, kind of these things. So when people exercise using their new knowledge, or when they start using their new products, their new assets, then as a result of using those outputs, what are the immediate results in their lives, in their knowledge, in their skills? And we say like these are our immediate level of outcomes. And then as we go along with the project implementation, they contribute to the longer term results and impact. Okay, so can you type for me in the chat room what comes in your mind when you think about outcome monitoring? So just type in chat what comes in your mind. Just want to know what people think. A few of ideas. maybe not too many definitions, just some of the keywords. What comes in your mind when you hear outcome monitoring? People can unmute if you want to talk.
Yes, to me, it's about immediate change that is made through our interventions, like intermediate results.
So there are outcomes. What comes in like outcome monitoring? But thanks, Asif. Year in progress, collecting data to evaluate whether project achieved the desired changes. Nice. One more minute if people are, I mean, we are with smaller group, so feel free to unmute mic and you can share what comes in your mind. Gathering evidence, facts and figures. Outcome monitoring refers to the monitoring based on intended results, periodic assessment of outcome levels in the projects. Super. Okay, I'm again going back to the slides. So today, one of the purpose was like I share my own experience of when um, I was engaged in completely, design of the whole methodology, how we monitor outcomes for a project, and I'll share a couple of learnings from that, and then some more details about different outcomes, and then we can open how actually sometimes we write when we start thinking about methodology of outcome monitoring. So this is one of the outcome indicator of a WASH program we did under FCDO payment by result project. So 90% of the household in target communities continue to use and maintain their toilet facilities. So in this project, we provided support to at the household level. They constructed their toilet, but also we provided some subsidy on the toilet construction. And to sustain and to measure outcomes, we had to do 6 monthly outcome surveys. And to design how we are going to do that, how we ensure the all different aspects of monitoring the sustainability, we had to design a complete methodology. I would say like a few pages, a whole design and steps clarifying the indicator, its definition, how we will calculate, what would be the sample, what would be the sampling methodology, what would be the tools we will be using, what would be certain specific question that will give us data so that we know about what do you mean by continuity to use and what does this look like when we say maintaining their toilet facilities. That was very detailed, and it helped to learn more about how we made outcome. It really worked very well. So just like some basic things. So we used to do on 6 monthly basis these outcome surveys, and we used to do household surveys, and the target was visiting 400 households. So that means when you start doing outcome monitoring, you need the whole database of your beneficiaries, which you use as a sample frame, and then you use your sampling techniques and draw the sample. So it was pre-agreed that we will have to do 400 household interviews, household surveys. and then these households will come from the bigger database of the beneficiaries. Like these are more than 20,000 households we supported in 2 provinces in 3 districts, and they was randomly drawn from the database. And then we also had some backup sample. For example, sometime when you do data collection and you don't know whether you will find the relevant respondents or relevant households, so it is good that you should have a backup sample to some extent, so that you can replace them with the backup sample, and you make sure that you are achieving your target of collecting data for the outcomes monitoring. And then also that the tools, it was like clearly defined what is meaning by continuity of use and maintain it. So that was based on both self-reporting and observation. That means when you ask from a beneficiary, okay, do you use a toilet? I say yes, I do. I use a toilet. So that's a self-reporting. And then observation, okay, can you show me your toilet? Let's go. So you see the toilet, and you need to also then just there are some observations questions. So I will share some of those a set of questions with you as well. I have that questionnaire with me, and that's how we started doing. And some of the photos, it was also part of this SOPs, how we do outcome surveys. And we also used to capture some of the photos of the toilet and see how it is being used. And then you also define how you are going to calculate the results. So that means I can see there's a background noise. I don't know who is it. Can you mute Heba? So that means you also need to define your denominator in the methodology.
Lakini maswala kubwa hakuna. Na tayari.
So this was the question, for example, questionnaire household survey. So there were some questions which were critical, which were actually giving us the information that we use and to then analyze the data in calculations, like evidence of use of the latrine. So this is completely observed. So you need to observe cleaning material is present, water container is present, floor of latrine is wet, and like you ask about from people like, would you say that most of the household members use this latrine when they are at home? So that means you need to design these questions. They actually give you information if people are using. So when we say 90% of the household member using latrine, so you are asking from them, do you use a latrine? Do you have those latrine? Show us your latrine. Then you ask, okay, based on the analysis of this result, that helped us to calculate the overall result against that indicator. And this coming from the self-reporting, and when it comes to observation, we used to do some observations. What are the evidences? And then you walk through and then see that. So this is all part of your questionnaire, and also the main guideline we developed for outcome monitoring. Similarly, in some of the current projects, for example, we are designing in this way: percent of individual recognizing a high likelihood of being severely affected by specific hazard. So this is a type of outcome indicator. We need to define the indicator description, unit of measure, how we will be calculating the results, how we are going to present data like in a disaggregation with male, female, maybe you want to do in a locations. So normally we collect data baseline, endline, but also if this is part of your internal or external monitoring mechanism, you can design outcome surveys, and you can collect data to measure at the outcome level as well. And then you need to define in your SOPs, okay, who will be collecting data, what would be the source of collection of the data. You need to define your tools of the data collection, questionnaire, frequency, how this frequency of the reporting will be reported, and similarly, percent of beneficiaries reporting their net income from livelihood. So under this livelihood program, again, use the same pattern. So these are those basic things. They should be defined in your meal plan, meal framework, whatever you design in your projects. You can commit, okay, that we will be developing SOPs for outcome surveys, and those SOPs will include A, B, C, D kind of these things. So you agree with your donor, and then you should have those SOPs part of the program, and then you start implementing that. Like, these are some of the basic information. If you present and if you make these part of your project design, then it's very helpful to do. And in other cases, if they are not donor driven, and if you want to do as a meal person, it's again a very, very good initiative for you as a professional, but also for the project and for the organization you are working with. So normally what I have observed, we mainly do for donor compliance kind of things. So if donors say we need to do outcome survey, we will do. Otherwise, we don't have time, we don't have money, we don't have resources to do that. But again, I used to do in my previous jobs. I know the more burden was on me, but I was doing because of my own learning, and also with the project manager, I decided no, we used to do that. So in some cases they were donor driven, in other cases they were internal initiatives. So you need, and in as an internal you have more space. You can define, okay, let's do this, let's measure outcomes in a different way, and let's see how we are performing in the project. So these are those basic things that you need to agree and you need to define, and then it will help you when you start data collection. It's not just random data collection. What one of the learning was like, uh, uh, one of our other team member, like, they did the same outcome monitoring, but some of the things which were not described before you work with the project team, then the challenge was like when you start evaluating and finding and presenting the results. So again, there were a lot of question on methodology. There were lots of question on indicator description. For example, when I say here, what does that mean, like net income? Did we define the numerator and denominators? And similarly, what would be the sampling methodology? So all these questions comes under design when you present your findings, when you present the results with the program team or the donor. So then there are some very heated discussions if they are very poor performing results, or if the findings are not they don't look good and people don't own them. So a lot of question comes on monitoring people and how they designed it and how they initiated. So it's always critical and it's always important that these basic things should be designed and discussed and designed and agreed at before data collection and before going into the field for data collection, testing the tool. And it's always good that you get input from the technical people from livelihood or technical people from different team sector, and also your program teams or your management, and giving them an idea and discussing, okay, let's do that. If you are doing it internally, if you are doing externally for a donor driven outcome survey, then they are already part of your design, because you cannot use resources until donor do not approve the all of the SOPs and tools. So in all donor driven, these outcome surveys are the baseline endlines which we do, mainly things are already agreed. But for internal, sometimes there are those challenges of ownership. So it's good practice that you should design and define these things during the design stage. And this is how you can monitor your outcomes. So these are those basic, I would say, structure and the process you can adopt whenever you want to do some outcome monitoring for certain indicators for your projects. I'll stop here if people have any question, and we can open it for the discussions.
You can write your own questions either in the chat or you can just speak.
Saber, actually, I want to suggest that someone should be there to monitor the chat room as well, because since I am not able to see your presentation, many times I wrote in chat room, but there is no one to see. So I suggest if someone see the chat room and they can facilitate to participants in this way.
Is this the
The,
same issue with someone else?
this session is recorded and the recording will be shared. But I would like to ask if any other member who had the same issue.
Actually, it works for us.
People can share their experiences, how they use to monitor outcomes, if there are no questions.
I have a question, please. Could you please elaborate the difference between the evaluations and the outcome results? Because sometimes the impact evaluation, the evaluation studies are also known as the outcome measurement. Could you elaborate some differences?
Thank you so much, Rauf. So definitely evaluation also monitor the results, but the evaluations normally follow the OECD criteria, and that is most recognized criteria for donors, for organizations, and then you design your set of questions about relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, sustainability, coherence, and impact. So if you follow that part and if you follow those certain standard criteria in your TOR, in your design, then this is called, like, we can say, okay, this is evaluation and this is impact. Actually, impact and evaluation, they also monitor your this result chain, and but their scope and their certain different questions are different, looking more in the longer term of efficiency and impact and sustainability, kind of different aspect of your project on the beneficiaries. And what we just discussed, it's more of the only monitoring certain outcomes. So normally in a project you have less than, I would say, 8, 6, or 5 outcome indicator. Normally you have more output indicators, but the outcome indicators are like more than 4, 5. And if you want to monitor certain outcome indicator, then you can design and these kind of SOPs what we discussed today. So definitely there is a difference between evaluation, and evaluations always follow the standard OECD criteria, and looking at different scope under different criteria of, like, as I mentioned, these 5, 6 standard things. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also again, like, if you are doing an impact evaluation, and that's again, I say this is internal driven. For example, we are doing an impact evaluation for only livelihood program, under which we are covering only 4 activities: small business grant, TVET activities, and provided under different donor grants. So we are going to now do an impact evaluation, and this is completely internal activity. So we are not going to look into efficiency of the program, but the main focus is on relevance, impact, and sustainability and coherence. So that's how you can tweak in between these impact and evaluations if you have that space. And definitely, if it's driven by organization and their management, and they want to learn and want more evidence for their program design, then you can design in such a way. Normally, otherwise, in donor-driven and donor-demanding evaluations, they already agree. Okay, we will follow OECD criteria and A, B, C. So this is part of your proposal design, and you mentioned in budgetary notes as well. So you need to stick with that as a donor compliance.
Thank you so much for the clarity and for the clarity of the audience. Actually, in most of the donor-funded projects, the outcomes are measured through the evaluations in the midline or at the end line of the program.
Yeah, you are right. Like normally people don't monitor outcomes. They are just part of your end line and our evaluations.
So I can ask a question that was previously written in the group. What is the main difference between the routine monitoring and the outcome monitoring?
Yeah, so routine monitoring is mainly like output monitoring. For example, if it's more of when you start project implementation and you start you ask from program to give you data, and then you start tracking the indicators through indicator tracking tables or whatever databases you have. So you start tracking the outputs throughout the project, and this is called regular routine monitoring. That means you collect data against the output indicators. But also, like in other cases, you also monitor the outcomes to sorry, do you collect regular data for process monitoring of the activities. They also give you some insight about the program quality kind of things, like if you want to see some how the process of beneficiary identification has been implemented by the program team, how to what extent we meet the standard criteria of beneficiary selection. Of if you are training, you can monitor the trainings, how effective the training are. And if there are some service delivery projects, so you go and you monitor some of the structures based on the BOQs and the criterias. So these monitoring visits are for monitoring person on different set of activities you do. So they serve two things. Number one, the on the process monitoring side, so they can improve your program quality if you provide those findings and feedbacks timely to the field team and the project team. Okay, I went to the field and I saw these things, and these are my some of the findings. So this is how we need to improve. So this they should adopt them in their next activities of the projects. So this can improve the ongoing quality of the of the project, and definitely then it contributes in the longer term result of your project implementation. And if you are collecting the quantitative data, either routine monitoring, so this means it's about more of your output indicator tracking.
Thank you. For those who just joined us, could you elaborate more about the difference between outcome monitoring and outcome evaluation? Thank you.
Sorry, Hiba, you have the same question. You want me to elaborate?
Actually, they want to ask what is the difference between outcome monitoring and outcome evaluation. I will just add in this question that most of the times the outcomes are evaluated through the evaluations, as I said, through midline or the end line of the projects, where the project timeline is 4 years or 5 years or lengthy processes. but where there is short-term projects and we are getting the outcomes on a regular basis, on a quarterly basis, or semi-annual basis. So their regular monitoring will do the same purpose. So I would like the instructor to kindly elaborate the difference between outcome monitoring and outcome evaluation.
Thank you. So, Rauf, you said very rightly, correctly. I would agree definitely. I would just say like outcome monitoring, it means like you are monitoring outcome on certain frequencies till the end of your project. And you monitor evaluation, that means you need to add some of the other questions relevant to the OECD criteria. So normally outcome monitoring is, as I said, as I gave in presentation, okay, 90% of the household using their toilet. So that means I am monitoring what is the current status, what percentage of people using the toilets. So it can be 100%, it can be 92%, it can be 70%. So that means I'm not achieving my outcome indicator as committed with the donor as is part of the project design. So you monitor certain outcomes against their target of the project. Okay, we will achieve 70%, we will achieve 80%, we will increase 10% of the income among the population. So outcome monitoring means you are monitoring outcome against the target, and you can do on 6 monthly basis or whatever the frequency is. If you are monitoring outcomes holistically, you can monitor them throughout the projects, again through midlines or anything. But when you say, okay, we are going to do an evaluation, that means that the scope is different. Then you need to follow the standard criteria of OECD, and you need to look at the different aspects of evaluation around relevance, sustainability, impact. But if you are simply doing an outcome monitoring, you don't need to see the relevance. You don't need to see the effectiveness. You just track the indicator target. Okay, my outcome target is raising 10% above the baseline, or 30% above the baseline, or maybe decrease in certain diseases by 10% of the baseline. So you just monitor outcomes to track your progress of the monitoring against the target. But that again will be followed by the on sample basis. You need to design your tools, you need to agree on the calculations. So it cannot be, like you need to just focus on that outcome and those beneficiaries, and then you draw your sample, you collect data, and then you just say, okay, this is the target, and currently we are at this stage of our progress against that particular outcome. Does that make sense?
Yes. Anyone who would like to ask any question? If there is no question, then we can end the session.
Can I ask,
Yes, please go ahead.
please?
Yes, please go ahead and ask your question, Muhammad. Sabir, there is a question in the chat which says, can we use the data for outcome evaluation that we collected through regular monitoring? What I understand is that evaluations are conducted at certain stages, but we collected data earlier so that to that stage.
Yes, definitely. This data contributes to the evaluation, like as a literature review. So you definitely look at the certain questions that comes under evaluation criteria. So you use that all the monitoring reports, all the monitoring data collected at the output level or outcome level. So definitely this contributes to do an evaluation as a part of the literature review. But you cannot base like okay. I mean because it's always part of the evaluation design. So okay, this would be our a literature review that will include A, B, C things. But again, we want to collect some additional data. Maybe they don't want to do household surveys because you have a lot of quantitative data available. But in the design, you would say, okay, we will not do household surveys, or like we will not collect the quantitative data, but we only need some qualitative data. So you only design key informative interviews or focus group discussion. So you just collect the qualitative data, and then you use your already databases of the regular monitoring, the quantitative data, and then based on your qualitative analysis, and you use the quantitative data, and then you go with the evaluation findings and writing that report. Obviously, you can use, in some cases, we make that part of the design. For example, in recently we are doing an evaluation for the USAID project. So we categorically mentioned in the TOR that we do not want consultant to collect the quantitative data on certain indicators. We already do have these data, but we only want them to collect qualitative data. So you can make this part of your design of the evaluation.
Yes, Muhammad Zakaria, go ahead and ask your questions.
Hi, everyone. I have one question for Mr. Hussein. Maybe could you give me example about criteria to evaluate outcome? Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Zakaria. So when you say criteria to monitor outcome, as I previously said, like outcomes, if you want to monitor outcomes separately, then you need to discuss, like you monitor the outcome indicator, and that categorically says about yours, that define your target above the baseline. So you definitely want to monitor the progress against the target. Secondly, then within the outcome indicator, you need to solve to some those questions. So your criteria would be defined by how that statement is. For example, if we say 90% of the household continue to use, so what is meaning by continue to use? So we need to define this. So that means the criteria would be the target itself and the aspect of that achievement, what we agreed in the outcome statement, like if this is about continue to use and maintaining their facilities, increase in income, things like that. So the criteria of outcome monitoring is defined by the outcome statement and the outcome indicator itself. But if you want to add more things like from evaluations, then you go a separate study. But just to do outcome monitoring the outcomes only, they are defined by these two main things. You monitor against, just to check the progress against the target or above the baseline, and then you make sure that different aspects of the outcome statement, with the terms, the definitions we use, they should be, we need some set of questions. They give us information to, elaborate correctly against where we are in terms of achieving these outcomes. So this is the main guiding, triggering things, whatever you can say, criteria, the starting point.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein.
Please feel free to ask any questions or thoughts that you think that you need an answer to.
I have a suggestion, no question at all. Most of the questions were asked about outcome monitoring and outcome evaluation. I would request Mr. Hassan or anyone in the group to kindly share any editorial or any one paragraph defining the difference between the outcome evaluation and outcome monitoring, so that the clarity should be sought for all the participants. And this is really a wonderful presentation by Hassan.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Rauf. I think, yeah, maybe you can, after the meeting, when we share these recordings, you can write something about what is outcome monitoring and what the outcome evaluation. And yeah, if people need some more resources, I mean, I really don't believe, because you can find all of different things in like on internet, but it's good to have more, discussion about the practical experiences. This is how I learn, but I don't know people really want to go through the literature. Most welcome. I'll also share some of the resources afterwards.
Yeah, most of the time the literature is really important to know to learn about the basics about the topics, and at the same time read others' works, and then comes the experience, or you might learn by experience, and then know the right definitions. Some of the meal stuff. Most of the time apply most of the topics or the terms, but they really don't know the exact term of the what they are doing. And outcome monitoring might be one of them. I guess there is no questions. Shall we call it an end to this session? Mr. Sabir?
Yeah, sure. If there are no more questions, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session. And thank you so much, Mr. Sabir, for the initiative to conduct this session. Thank you for your time and everyone's. Thank you. And this is the first online session for the group. And we hope that it is beneficial to everyone. And we will continue chatting in the group. And we'd like to hear from you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sabir. Thank you, everyone.
Have a blessed weekend. All the best. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sabir, and thank you, Heba.
Thank you so much for attending. Hope you benefited from this session. Bye.